2 o'clock, so we can get started. My name is Doug Robinson, and I'm a co-owner of Phoenix Fitness and Training with Heather back there is my other co-owner. And this marks my 30th year of triathloning. So 30 years ago, this year I was 19 and sitting exactly where you sit and not really knowing what I'm getting into. You have picked a great first triathlon to do, largely because it's the pool swim, and that's a little bit more calming and controlled than just jumping straight into an open water swim. But what I think people find is that swimming is swimming, and biking is biking, and running is running, and what you can do in the pool, you can do out in the open water. So today, what I'd like to do is to go over just kind of the flow of the day, what to expect. We'll go through the course maps and talk about the flow of each part of the race, and then talk about some of the rules, the basic rules that you would need to know going through a triathlon, just to not get yourself in trouble by the officials, but also to keep yourself safe. So how many this is your first triathlon? Excellent, excellent. So the flow of the day, I'm going to start from the very beginning, and then I'm going to talk about my OCD-ness that some say I have or I don't have. But I get up, and it's a 9 o'clock start, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, 9 o'clock start. So I get up and have what I consider for me a normal breakfast. And I'm just going to stop at that. And if you have a McDonald's Big Mac for breakfast, then that's what you need to do tomorrow morning. We can meet later and talk good nutrition, but if that's what's normal for you, then keep normal. But I'll be up a couple hours before so that that normal breakfast can digest and get into my system. I lay out all of my stuff the night before. And I lay it out in a big open area. Because if I put it in my bag and it's all packed up, that next morning I wake up and I'm like, did I put my goggles in there? I'm not sure. And then I'm digging through my bag and throwing everything everywhere. And so for me to have peace of mind that I know I pack it that morning, but I organized it the night before. And I just go through first, second, third. And so the first part that I think about is setting up my transition. I pack a small towel so that when I come out of the swim into the transition, I have something to step on to just kind of wipe off dirt, gravel, anything that my wet feet have picked up as I'm running out of the pool down to my transition area. So I'll have my transition towel. I might have my sunblock that I would put on before the event. So I'd have that with my transition items. I might have some Body Glide to where if you know you have chafing in certain areas, like my tri-suit, oftentimes I'll chafe under the armpits or where the zipper is. And so I'll put a little Body Glide in those locations so that things just move and slip a little easier. So I'll pack that with my transition items. And just things that I might need before the race just to set up in that transition area. So after those items, my brain moves to the swim. What do I need for the swim? So I've got my tri-shorts that I wear. Those tri-shorts look like bike shorts, but they have a very small pad in them where you sit down on your bike seat. And so that a bike short has a thick pad and it would soak up a ton of water like a sponge. Tri-shorts are very thin. If you just have compression shorts that have no pad, they work great too. The first part of my triathlon career, the only thing, because there weren't any tri-clothes, we raced in a Speedo. And so, it was just like, running around in just a little tight Speedo was the triathlon uniform. And then people started saying, well, gosh, we're chafing, we need something else, and the tri-short was designed and developed. So anything that protects your legs from the bike seat is a good thing to have. Many people are just doing it in running shorts. They'll swim in some like a jammer, and they might pull running shorts on over top. Women, you might just swim in your swimsuit and then just pull running shorts on top to do the bike and the run leg. So just think about what you're going to need in the water. For me, it's just the tri-shorts. I need my goggles. I usually bring 2 pair because inevitably somebody that I know, their goggles break the race morning. So either mine break or one of my athletes, theirs break, and I just have an extra pair for them. When I do summer triathlons, my 2 pair are clear lensed and sunglass smoked lens. And so if it's a cloudy day, I'll use the clear, and if it's a sunny day, I'll use the sunglass one. But if one breaks, then I have the other to use. So I've got my goggles and then the swim cap. I tried to find Don Carr to see if it's absolutely required for you to wear your swim cap, and I couldn't track them down before the meeting. In the outside ones, it's usually mandatory. During the inside one, because the pool's clear, sometimes some race promoters say it's necessary, others say it's choice. So I would have it tomorrow and proceed forward as if it was a mandatory thing to wear. Sometimes in some races they'll mark your number on your cap. And so it's just a different way of getting your number out there for the officials to see. So I've got my swim trunks, I've got my goggles, I've got my cap. There's nothing else that I need for the swim. I move on to what I need for the bike. And so I have separate bike shoes for my run shoes. So I have bike shoes that I use. My particular bike shoes don't need socks because they have a sock built into the shoe. And so I can go sockless and not try to have to wrestle a sock over a wet foot. If you don't have those kinds of shoes, I would take the time to put socks on, because blistered feet are no fun no matter how you slice it up. So take that time, pull your socks on. Oftentimes you have to kind of bunch it up so that you can just sort of roll it up onto your foot since it's wet. You'll have a hard time just slipping it on. So I'll have my shoes that I'm going to wear on the bike. I'm going to have socks. I'm going to have a triathlon top. Some people have a top that's really tight fitting and they'll swim in it. Other people, they might have a Lycra kind of top and it's got a zipper, and that's what I have, so I put it on like a vest and I zip it up. Other people have a top and it's going to be Lycra, cotton, or some kind of wicking material, but they have to pull it on over their head just like a regular shirt. The other, just like the socks, with your wet torso, you'll get a shirt on to your collarbones. And then it just like a blind, it just curls under. It like gets caught on your wet skin, and then it curls under. And then you can kind of get under it and start to pull it down on the front, but it's curled up on the back. And sometimes you can't reach up behind you. And so if it's not easy to pull on, oftentimes, and you'll be like, oh, that guy had that trouble. They're like running down the street with a crop top on because they couldn't get the top undone. So if you have something you're going to pull over your head, make sure that it has a little bit of looseness to it to where you can pull it down without it getting stuck on your skin. The looser it is, the more like a parachute it is on the bike. So if you have a big flowing shirt and you're just like, I nailed that transition, I got my shirt down to my waist, and then you have the shirt flapping in the wind, that's going to slow you down. So you have to kind of try some things out. What shirt can you get on? What shirt's not going to be too loose in the wind? So I've got my shoes, I've got my socks, my tri-shorts are on, I've got some kind of top on, and then I've got my helmet. Helmet safety. The helmets are designed to come down to where they're just kind of at your eyebrows. If you ride with your helmet rolled back like this, then the frontal lobe of your brain has no protection. So that helmet should fit down on the front of your head and the back of your head and buckled. That buckle, when you open your chin, should just have a little slight pull on it. If not, then if you crashed, that buckle would come out from underneath your chin, your helmet would fly off, and then as you bounce down the road, your head would keep hitting the road. So helmet down, and not too tight, but not too loose underneath your chin. There are rules, ANSI approved. Just look inside that helmet. There should be a sticker in there that says, yes, this helmet is approved for impact. Crazy why there would be helmets out there that aren't approved for impact, but there are. And so just make sure that your helmet has that sticker. That's rule number one that gets broken. You've done all this preparation, you've paid your money, you come into transition, and the official is walking up and down the aisles looking for that sticker inside a helmet. If your helmet doesn't have that to say it's approved, they won't let you race. They'll send you home. Then you're scrambling around, someone bikes up, you don't even know who they are, and you're like, can I borrow your helmet so that I can race today? It's all sweaty and drippy, and you'll still use it. So make sure that your helmet has that inside of it. Optional things, sunglasses, protect you from the sun, but also protects you from bugs and flying rocks. I can remember one time I was biking down the road and this bumblebee doink, bounced off my contact lens. I was like, oh, that was interesting. Did that really just happen, that a bug flew in my eye and bounced out? So sunglasses serve that multi-purpose. Some people like them, some people don't. On a little bit chillier of a morning, sometimes that cold air, especially heading down the hill out onto the course, your eyes will start to water because that cool air will be hitting your eyes, and the sunglasses will protect you from that. So I do the bike, I come back, I'm going to transition to the run. I'm going to change my shoes. A lot of people just are biking in the running shoes, so you will save that time. You won't have to change shoes. And I'll trade out my helmet for a hat because I'm bald and my head burns. If you don't like hats or visors, then that's it. You're done. You're transitioned. You're off onto your run just by changing your shoes. Your number needs to be on your body on the front for the finish only. So if you are a female, you bike or you swim in your swimsuit, you pull on shorts for the bike ride, you do your bike ride, and then you finish the bike, and then you pull on a shirt that has your number pinned to the front, that's perfectly fine. You need that number for the finish. All the way through, you'll have your number written on your arm, and usually they do it on both arms. Some race promoters, you'll have a number, a number, a number, a number, your age group, what length race you're doing, and it's just like by the time you're done, you're just tattooed from head to toe. Other race directors, it's a number and a number.
Do they mark tomorrow morning?
They mark tomorrow morning, yep. If you are going to put on sun lotion, I'd put that on way before, kind of let it dry. If you put it on right there and then they try to Sharpie your arm with it all wet and greasy still, it just mushes all out and it doesn't stick very well. So the other most important thing is your timing chip. You've been picking them up, correct? They're sending with them today, yeah. So that goes on one ankle or the other, and that little orange chip is what the computer sends the radio signal to. It's unique to you, and so when that chip crosses a mat, it says, Jim, where's Jim? Jim, right? Yep, Jim just crossed the mat. He's done with the swim. He's crossed the mat. He's done with transition out onto the bike. He's crossed the mat after the bike, and then crossed the mat going out onto the run, and then crossed the mat at the finish line. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mat crossings that chip is reading. when you cross the mat, you'll see that they have 1 mat, 2 mat, 3 mats sometimes. So there's 3 times that computer has a chance to read your chip. So if you are running through with high knees and that foot's way up high and the first mat misses it, you'll step down and the second mat will read it. Okay? Without that chip, the computer says you don't exist. That doesn't mean that you won't get a finishing time. Don is really great that he has staff sitting at the exit of the swim. They're either writing it down or they're talking into a microphone, number 117, 26, 132. And so you come through and they might have a picture at some point in time. And you're like, well, I finished right next to numbers 127. So they go in there, they see number 127 on the computer, but you don't show up. But then they look on their tick sheet and they're handwritten in, there's your number. So then they manually enter you into the results. So that's why it's really important to have that clear writing on your arm. That's the backup if something were to go wrong with your chip, or you forget it, or whatever. But it's just easiest for everybody if you have that chip on your foot. Yes?
What triggers a start? Is there a mat like at the beginning when you get in the pool?
Yes. Yeah, so, and we'll go into the swim seating. So we are right now here in the building. On race morning, you'll get checked in, you'll get marked. Everybody will be in the gym or up on top here, and they'll walk you down a stairway that comes down here, and you'll walk around the edge of the pool to the swim start. This side of the pool is the north-facing side that's out toward the parking lot. That is where transition will be. So you start on the parking lot side, and you will be swimming south to start. They'll tell you tomorrow that you get in line in order of your number, because you had to submit a seating number for them to say, okay, this is, fast people first, slower people go last, so that we don't have people crawling over each other. Well, some people might have put their average time it takes them to swim 400 meters. Some people might have put in their sprint time, how fast they can swim it, and just be about ready to be cross-eyed and passed out at the end. Other people don't really know because they swim yards. So right now, there's a huge amount of, I think I'm this fast, out there. Now, we have a gentleman who kind of put in a time he didn't quite know, and he realized he's seated in the top 30. He's not a top 30 swimmer, he says. So you may self-select where and when you start. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to pause and let it sink in. Almost 100% of the deaths in triathlon come in the water. Almost none of them are from drowning. Panic attacks, heart conditions, lung issues that are just genetic. When you go from not being able to warm up, and you're panicked, and you're excited, and you're scared, to go, and you jump in the water, and it's, and then some people have heart trouble. Not from drowning. So if you've got number 35 for your start number, and to be calm, you need to be very last in the group. Go very last in the group. If you're a type A personality and you can't stand to have to wait to get around somebody on the highway, and you would rather have people crawling over top of you to pass you, and that's what makes you calm, then self-select yourself toward the front and let people crawl over top of you. We want you to be in your good mental place in the water. All right? So the swim, you head this way, south, and you do a right-hand turn under the lane line. And then you head this way, north, and you do a left-hand turn under the lane line to zigzag back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So I need 1, 2, 3 kids. Come on up here. I need your help. Good. You are a slow swimmer, but he's not. You are a slow swimmer, but you're not. You are a slow swimmer, but you're not. We are coming up on this very first section where we're heading south. It's a right-hand turn under the lane line. I am a fast swimmer. They are slow swimmers. And we're swimming, and I pass them, and I get to the wall. I turn, and I'm going to go under the lane line to go back the other way. And as soon as I turn, I have slow swimmer, slow swimmer, slow swimmer running into me. And then we have a traffic jam. The only way I can get that way is to go way deep under them, to go over top of them, or to elbow my way through them. So if you know you are a slow swimmer, come on to this side for me, and you know we're going to take a right-hand turn, swim to the left. The faster swimmers will pass you on the right. I will duck under the lane line and be gone before they even get to the wall, and we don't have any congestion. That right there is the critical piece to, even if you think you're self-selecting in the proper place, it's still going to be jacked up. All right? People are going to swim, and it's just doing this zigzag, it's just kind of, you just don't know. And so, the best way to have it flow is if you know people are coming up on you and you're getting close to that wall, just slide out, let the right-hand turn come. If we're going the other way, slide to the right, let the left-hand turn go. When you get to that wall, be more than happy and welcome to stop, hold that wall for a little bit, turn around, look to see what traffic's coming. If you got to wait for 5 seconds for someone to swim through and that makes you feel better, wait for 5 seconds. If you stop at the wall and there's still a little bit away, duck under, keep on going. The lanes are, thank you. Round of applause. The lanes are super, super wide. So once you're swimming in the middle 90% of the pool, there isn't any problem, and people getting around you and navigating and passing you, that's all the simple part. The chaos is in these 5 yards before each end where people are heading different directions potentially. All right? Zigzag, 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 zigzag. You come out here. There are stairs back to the side, or it's kind of a tall gutter. If you got to stop before you get to the final wall and just go out the ladder, we're good. Because if you go to the wall, then you got to swim back a couple yards to get back to that ladder to get on out. Once you climb out of the pool, you're going to walk a few steps, and there's going to be your first timing mat. I believe it's inside the building. So your swim doesn't end until you cross that timing mat that's 10 or 20 yards down the way. They've got it carpeted so that you won't slip on the floors. And then out the door you go. And it's this out. So this arrow is coming out here into this roundabout and then to the parking lot where the transition area is. You're running down here. Oh, look at that, the timing mat, all the way out of transition. So it's not here in the building. Some years they did. So your swim is this 400 yards plus this 200-yard run. So if you're really proud of your swim time, on paper it's going to look awful. Right? So when your friends say, whoa, man, I thought you were a good swimmer, you're like, no, look at my watch. I stopped it when I got out of the pool. This is all part of swim time. Yeah? Once you get outside toughen up. You're on pebbles and gravel. Yeah, I got baby feet myself, and it's just, it just hurts a little bit. Some people, doesn't bother them. So you're in on this timing mat to transition. The exit is in the opposite corner. So if you have to run down to your bike and over, or run over to your bike and then down, it shouldn't matter. Everybody should have to run basically the same distance from this point to that point. Back in the early days, they had a timing mat here and then a timing mat here. So if your bike was way up here, you had to run all the way to your bike, get it, and then run all the way back up. If your bike was here, your transition was 25% the distance. So they changed the rules that said it has to be a pass-through transition so that everybody has the basic distance to run. In transition, that's not going to work. So your bike is set up on a sawhorse. And then there's the post that runs down the middle. And then the sawhorse on the far side. Your transition area will be marked, and it will say numbers 10 through 18 are on this rack. The next rack over will be 19 through 27. Usually it's about 8 bikes per rack. If they have 3 racks lined up, then it's going to be 10 through 37. So you have to find your rack. Once you find your area, it's first come, first serve on selection for your bike position. Some people like to have it right on the very edge. So they transition, they can grab it and just go. If you get here late, it might be 3 racks in to where you might have to run in a little bit. So if you choose this side, we'll call this the west side. If you choose the west side of the rack to be your spot, then I'm drawing a bike. There's the seat. Your wheel that touches the ground touches on your side. So when you hang it either by the brakes, or if you turn around and you hang it by the seat, the wheel that hangs the lowest is your side where you set up your towel, where you set up your shoes, where you put your helmet and all that kind of stuff. It's not on the side where the wheel is the highest. All right? So someone has their bike right here, wheel hanging down on the west. The next spot available closest to the alley is on the opposite side, hanging on this side. And then it zippers down. West side, east side, west side, east side, west side, east side, zipper down, zipper down. And then there's this beautiful little 18-inch wedge in between bikes, about the width of the handlebars. That's your transition area. Transition area is not a big sectional sofa couch. You got 18 inches, basically the width of a towel, to set up your stuff. Daniel Brescher, who was a local guy, won the Muncie 70.3 half Ironman. He was on a row of professional bikes. There was spots for 16 bikes. There was only 8 pro men there. He set up on the very end. There was nobody around him, and he took up 36 inches of space. He didn't bother anybody. It didn't affect anybody. They charged him a 2-minute penalty for taking up more than his space. He lost the race by 30 seconds then because of that 2-minute penalty. So you have your area. If you get in and you're in a fluster and you toss your helmet out of your area after the bike, it's a penalty. If you come in off the bike, and for me, I get off and leave my bike shoes on the bike, well, it hit on the grass once and popped off my bike. If I leave my shoe back there in the grass and I'll just get it after the race, it's a penalty. Your equipment stays in your area and you can't create trash. So if you're out on the bike and you take some kind of food and you throw the wrapper and the official sees you, that's a penalty. And also it's just kind of bad, it's Earth Day, for goodness sakes. So you set up your area on the side where your wheel is down, set your stuff up. So as you come into transition, for example, if there's an alleyway here and then a row of bikes, sometimes they'll put an alleyway also down the fence. So then you can run straight down the fence, into your bike, out through the alleyway, and then out through the timing mat. All this in transition area, you have to run it. You got to run with your bike. You can't mount your bicycle until after this timing mat here, going down the hill. Okay? So you have your helmet on, you got your shoes on, you're out onto the bike. The flow of traffic on the bike so here you are riding your bike. Here is the person behind you. This gap right here is a no-go zone. Within that 3 bike length gap, if you get inside of that, drafting starts. To where the person in front of you is creating a break in the wind. The wind is splitting around them, and then the wind resistance in this bubble is up to 30% less. So if you draft behind somebody, you can go 30% faster than you could if you just did it on your own. Triathlon is an individual sport. It's not at the Olympic level, where at the Olympic level they can draft. That's a part of the Olympic sport. But here domestically, it's no drafting. So if you sneak into this bubble, this no-go zone, and you hang out there for longer than 15 seconds, you're going to get a penalty because you're taking advantage of somebody else's work into the wind. If you go into this zone and you realize you're not fast enough to continue and get around that person in 15 seconds, and you slow down and back out, it's a penalty. Once you go into that no-go zone, you are all in. And you've got to sprint to get around them. And then once you get around them, then it's their job to drop out of the zone and then pass you back if they realize, or you realize, that you overreached and you're just not that fast yet. All right? And this might be where you're going and it's a tailwind and you hit Old Meridian, it's angled, and all of a sudden it's a headwind. And you're getting ready to pass into that headwind. You got to dig deep and get around so that you don't have that 2-minute penalty coming your way. Riding to the right side of the road, passing on the left side is where the pass happens. If you ride out on the left or towards the middle of the road and you force people to pass on your right side, that's a penalty called blocking, because you're not allowed to pass on the right. All the passing has to flow around to the left side of everybody so that you don't have people swerving back and forth to where somebody's coming up to pass you and they don't know if you're going to swerve right or swerve left, and then all of a sudden you go to pass them and they swerve and crash into you. So to keep things safe on the bike and so that everybody has that expectation, you ride to the right unless you're passing. And as soon as you pass, even if you're the fastest bicyclist out there, you got to go back to the right. So if I pass somebody and I'm leading the bike race, and I'm out to the left and there's nobody for a mile behind me, that official could come up and give me a blocking penalty for not riding to the right, even if there's nobody there. So pass and then scoot back over. On the bike course, up here at the school, going out 136th Street, and then down Old Meridian, all the way to Pennsylvania, down Pennsylvania, and then you do this little boot around the block, up, a little bigger boot around the block, and then back the way you came. So there's 2 of these legs with feet that you go around at the southern end of the course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 roundabouts. Going out, 6 roundabouts coming back. All right? So just know that you can pretty smoothly take those roundabouts on a bike. It doesn't feel like a car where you really have to get on the gas to kind of get around it. The bike will carve around those roundabouts a little bit easier, but especially if it's wet, which I don't think it should be, right? That those roundabouts can be a little slick. So out, southern leg with the boot, come up, the northern leg with the boot, and then you're back into Carmel for the finish. This little section right here, speed bumps. Be aware of it going down. Be aware of it coming back up the hill, that there's going to be those speed bumps that might make you, if you're not expecting them. So be ready for those. So you come off the bike, and you have to dismount before this timing mat. You have to run your bike back into your specific transition area, take your helmet off, leave it there, and then out you go to the run. The run goes out where the swim came in. So you go out, up along the east side of the school. So the run comes up, straight across. You go through this neighborhood around the block, around the block over by the library, and then back onto here, just kissing the corner of campus, 1st Street, 2nd Avenue, 5th Street, and then this little section right here is up through the grass. You cross over the grass back onto campus in for the finish. Running. You can run in the middle of the road if you want. You don't have to be the right. The only rule that you can't break in the run is you can't run faster than me. The only rule really is the trash. You know, that you're just going out, you're following all the course, and where there's the water station, if you can take your water station and then leave the trash in the station before you continue on, that's great. We just don't want to have water cups littered all over Carmel that then requires the volunteers to have to hunt and search to find water cups. All right? You come into the finish line, number should be on front, your timing chip's on your ankle so that they can see you coming in. The announcer can say, hey, number 157, Doug Robinson finishing today. You get your little props. It should be a sunny, beautiful day. The thing that I love about these triathlon races is the community that is hanging around afterwards. So if you don't have mulch to spread and you don't have a lawn to mow or a baseball game to get to, hanging around and just being a part of this active community is a great place to just spend a sunny, beautiful day. So, questions right now? Yes? They will potentially be car traffic. Most cars are just trying to get across it and not be on the street. But I always make the assumption that it's not closed.